Hello and welcome, my name is Phil, I'm from toothsoup.com, and today I'll be reviewing a first-person dungeon crawler that harkens back to the good old days of games such as Dungeon Master or Eye of the Beholder. It's called Legend of Grimrock, and it's made by the Finnish indie developer Almost Human, and it was released in April of this year. Legend of Grimrock puts you in the shoes of a customizable party of 4 prisoners dumped into the Grimrock dungeon, a prison carved into a mountain. From there, it's your job as the player to make your way deeper and deeper into the dungeon, using the scarce resources you have at your disposal to survive monster attacks and traps, and use your wits to overcome the wide variety of puzzles that populate the different levels. As is the tradition of RPGs, you gain experience by killing enemies, which you can use to improve your skills in different areas such as athletics, swordplay, magic, throwing weapons, and so on and so forth. The leveling system really only affects the combat. You don't need to possess a high dexterity to solve a movement puzzle, for example. Obviously though, you're going to want to try and earn as much XP as possible because the monsters in this game can be pretty deadly, depending on how you take them on, but more on that later. Grimrock runs on Almost Human's in-house engine, and it does a pretty good job of updating the look of old-school dungeons to a modern era. Being that you are in a dungeon, there aren't too many variations in the wall textures. I think there's maybe 4 or 5 different environment types over a dozen or so levels. However, again, because you are in a dungeon, light sources come into play. Shadows cast from a flickering torch will make any environment look interesting, and really, who cares about what the walls are like when there's a horrible clicking sound echoing around an unlit corner in front of you. One thing that Grimrock manages to capture very effectively is curiosity-based gameplay. It teaches you very early on that finding a closed steel door is not a dead end, but an opportunity to search for the secret switch, lever, or puzzle that needs to be messed with to open it. I found it very hard to leave a level behind while there were still some doors unopened. The puzzles in the game are pretty clever, with some stumping me, legitimately, not by withholding information from the player, for greater durations than I'd freely like to admit. Thankfully, if you do get stumped on a puzzle, there are usually hints that you can find scattered around by an adventurer named Turum that has gone before you. Most of the puzzles in the game are optional, in that if you don't figure them out, you can still continue into the dungeon's depths. But if you want to kit your party out with the best gear and items, you'll want to explore every single nook and cranny the halls have to offer. There was a small issue for me in that looking for the little imperfections in a wall that indicate a secret button could sometimes give me a bit of eye strain. But other than that, the difficulty scaling of the puzzles is seamless, and the potential for those great, "oh, you idiot, of course" moments is high. And that's a great accomplishment by the team. Going back to the combat, there's a criticism that's been made by a number of players that it's easy to take advantage of the somewhat limited enemy AI just by moving around a lot and ensuring they are never in an adjacent tile and facing you to attack. By doing this, you can defeat even the most advanced monsters in the game, potentially without taking a single hit. This advantage is lessened somewhat when facing multiple enemies, and there are quite a few occasions in the game when this happens. To be honest, I'm not really as bothered by the combat as others have been, as when I was playing through the game I kind of saw the whole fighting aspect as a distraction from the puzzles. But if you're really keen on the roleplay aspect of things, you can always try and face up enemies head on, and limit your movement to what you think is reasonable. Lengthwise, I'd estimate it's around a 10-hour adventure if you explore everywhere, which is a good length for this genre. However, notably, the team have released a free update to the game that includes a dungeon editor, which integrates seamlessly into the Steam Workshop and enables players to download new levels made by others. Legend of Grimrock is priced at $14.99 US and is available through various digital vendors, including Steam, GOG, and the Almost Human store. Grab it if you want a tight, classic adventure with brain-teasing puzzles and a strong focus on exploration. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.